Welcome to Policing TV and this edition of Talking Crime with me, Danny Shaw. I'm here at the World Police Summit in Dubai and they've been talking about dogs. Police dogs. They've had a special canine conference to discuss the latest training for police dogs and the challenges of handling police dogs. I brought together two of the experts to discuss the value of police dogs and some of the challenges. Malley, who's from Canine Worldwide, the project manager, and Pekka Kokonnen, chief of the Dog Training Centre in Finland.
Pekka, if I can ask you first of all, there are so many different things that we could be talking about at this police summit. We're talking about innovation, we're talking about technology, we're talking about narcotics, but there's one whole day, one series of sessions devoted to police dogs and dog training. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because of the fact that the most of the police services all over the world are using dogs, and that's because the olfactory senses of the dog. Even nowadays we haven't realized what the dog is capable to do. There are so many issues where we can use the dogs within a policing. In an early beginning, let's say more than 100 years ago, when the Finland started using the canine, the dog was only for the use of force. It was a tool for the crowd management and assisting a high-risk arrest. But nowadays it's something different. We're using the dog for many purposes, and mostly because of the dog nose. The olfactory senses are really, really good, and we just love it. We will never get it away.
Give us a sense, sorry, that's probably a bit of a pun, but give us a sense of how strong a dog's sense of smell is compared to a human.
Well, one professor told me that there are millions of the different molecules which the human doesn't have. But in a practically, I use the example that when I or any of us will come to the room like this, we can immediately sense that, okay, 2 or 3 different kind of smells in this room, okay? But if we bring the dog can smell more than 200 different kind of smells in this same room where we are. So that's why we are using the dogs to find the drugs and explosives, weapons and ammunitions, many kind of things.
Malley, turning to you, you clearly know how sensitive a dog's nose is, because this is your area of expertise. But is this a message that you're trying to spread more widely?
Well, of course, always. We always want to send a greater message about our capabilities and how we can add more force multiplication to most police professions, whether they believe in what the canine is capable of. We believe as handlers and on the operational level that we can always add and help create a nexus to crime or evidence, and we're always available to try.
Do you think there's a sort of distrust or a disbelief about what police dogs can actually do?
I believe there's a misunderstanding, and we have a piece of equipment who's a living, breathing, loving, and reasoning tool. It's not like a rifle that we can zero and leave in a locker and come back a week later. Constant maintenance and sustainment training is what makes us different.
And why do you think perhaps there is that misunderstanding about it? Is that just in some cultures or some countries, or is it just because people don't really know what dogs can do?
I think it's difficult in the training immediately when you begin your basic training with a dog to describe what you're experiencing in that. When you're learning about conditioning, it's hard to convey that to your friends and family at home, because you're not only learning a new profession, you're changing your lifestyle, and that lifestyle change is difficult to begin with, and which makes that certainly unique.
Pekka, I think one of the aspects that struck me when you were doing your talk at the World Police Summit was the fact that it's not about training dogs, it's about training humans. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Exactly. When we started in Finland a little bit more than 100 years ago. First we trained the dogs. Until the 1973, we just trained the dogs and then we handed it to the police department. Okay, the feedback what we got from the police department was often that this dog is not working well, it doesn't find anything, it's a lousy dog. And we analyzed the reasons and we found out that the challenge, the problem, is in the other end of the leash. We have to train the handlers, we have to train the people to use these dogs. And that's much better way to operate.
And what's the
Even it's more time consuming and it's more difficult.
And what's the secret of being a good police dog handler? What qualities, what attributes do you need?
Well, you need to have an experienced police officer. You need to have a certain experience about the policing, and then you need to be open-minded. You have to be able to learn a lot of different kind of things than policing. You have to have you have to love the dog. When the new handler is giving a 7 or 8 weeks old puppy, he or she has to love the dog, and it will have to be a family member. So those are the main qualities.
But in Finland at the moment, you have hardly any female dog handlers. Very, very small number compared to male. I don't know whether that's characteristic or an issue that happens in other countries. Why do you think that is, and what are you trying to do to address it?
It's one of the challenges what we have. Currently we have some 260 dog handlers in Finland, and out of those 260 we have only 7 females as a dog handler. And that's because the cultural, historical reasons. In the early beginning, the canine patrol was doing kind of hard policing. There were members of the SWAT unit. They were doing route management control. They were assisting a high-risk arrest. It was very male, masculine work where you need to have a certain physical condition. Nowadays, it's all different. Especially the handlers of the special dogs, it really doesn't matter what sex you are. So we are really aiming to attract more and more female police officers to join the canine handlers.
Jay, is that something that you've seen also, that most dog handlers have been male traditionally? You're trying to get more women?
Absolutely. So I grew up in the male-centric portion of this job, but it's exciting knowing that our future is changing. We're more technologically driven now. Our younger handlers are coming in, are much more educated about what we're doing, and it's an exciting time to be here. They're marrying that technology. They're coming in much smarter than I've ever seen before, and they have a much more open mind. Where what I started, you had to have a good sense of humor, and you had to have a short memory because you made so many mistakes and you didn't want to linger on them.
What sort of mistakes did you make? Can you give us an example?
I mean, listen, I've made about every mistake you can make with a dog, but from them going to the bathroom in the most inopportune times to just jumping on you in the most incredible canine exhibition, they become dogs. And you have to laugh about it and not take it too seriously, because we are very fortunate to have been in this business this long and to be as incredibly successful that we have been industry-wide.
Is it true that with some dogs you have to, they can't work for all hours in a day? They have to have some rest time because it's very tiring if they're sniffing and sniffing and sniffing, trying to sniff out explosives or cash or whatever it is. Is that the case?
So we're constantly in tune with our canine partners at all times, and you'll be surprised. They manage rest very quickly, and they'll understand immediately they need to take a little nap in the back of the car because dad is moving from call to call, mom or dad rather, are moving from call to call, and you'd be surprised. I'm jealous at times when I see them curled up taking a quick cat nap, but they seem to recover much faster, and it's because of our training and our successes over the years that we're able to manage those stressors as best as possible.
Pekka, do you think that we have reached the limits of what we can do with police dogs, or is there so much more opportunities?
I'm quite sure that there are a lot of opportunities. We haven't realized it yet. But the main thing is that whatever we do, it should be based on some kind of research or study. I prefer the scientific study. Let's say if we are detecting explosives, there should be some kind of research done. What the dog is actually doing, what the dog is actually detecting. That, because in some cases we might need to present this as evidence in a court of law as well. So when we are able to combine the scientific research and the canine training, I think that we will all benefit. The population, citizens benefit, and the canine training program will benefit. And the ultimate goal is the police performance on operations.
Because in Finland you've been partnering up with the University of Helsinki, I think, to try and improve your research. Can you give me an example of an area where you have sort of uncovered some evidence or that perhaps has taken you in a different direction, or has contradicted perhaps some of your original beliefs about police dogs?
Yeah, we have some evidence-based fact that when we combine the animal science and the canine training program, we can enhance the performance of the canine units on the field, and we can also improve the well-being of a dog. The dog is our main tool, and we have to take a good care of it. That's why the well-being of the dog is important for us. In the end, the dog should work for some 10 years on duty. So when we are using this scientific research on well-being, we have been able to prevent some early retirements by having a fact that this is the way how we should train our dogs, and this is the way how do we should treat them, so that the well-being is best as possible. And also we have done some very practical operational studies. Let's say how the dog is detecting frozen explosives. Are they really capable to detect the explosives under the thick ice? In Finland we have a lot of ice places, believe me. And other very practical operational studies, like a car stress behavior. We noticed that some of our dogs are having a very stress behavior when they are put in a police car.
Just like a
and
suspect.
We try to spot. We try to spot what are the reasons behind this, and that was really good. We were able to change the direction of the dog gates. Now it's in a direction of travel. It used to be in a sideways. We removed some electronic devices and we put it in other locations. So, just to give you a couple examples.
Jay, what are the best breeds for police dog work, or can any breed of dog be utilised as long as the owner, the handler is properly trained?
I don't think there's an answer to that. I think as the more we become educated on the dogs and the olfactory systems, that we're finding all the breeds tend to have certain predispositions genetically that can be put to use. We have to put the time in. We have to be consistent, and we have to marry that science with the artistic side of training, and we have to create data, and we have to share that data with each other. But I don't think there's an answer. But honestly, I do have my favorites.
Well, come on, tell us your favourites. I mean, German Shepherds are used a lot in crowd control, aren't they, traditionally? Why, are they the best for that?
Well, I think what we have there is we have breed recognition in that particular case that you mentioned. If you see a police officer dressed standing with a German Shepherd, you just have a sense of what the job of the dog and the handler are at that moment. Now the dog, he doesn't know. He just knows, hey, I'm with my handler and we're out doing the job. But the general public, they see that sense, that omnipresence that the patrol team has, or the narcotics team or detection team. That omnipresence is what is driving that team at that, or the public perception at that moment, rather.
Right. So there are other dogs that could do that. Other breeds of dog that could do that work.
Sure, the Belgian Malinois. I mean, we categorize them very simply as pointy-eared or floppy-eared dogs, right? And the floppy-eared dogs tend to have a more of a approachable sense to them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the Belgian Malinois on the street isn't as lovable, for example. It's perception.
It's perception, which is really important. Would you go along with that, Pekka?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we need both. We really need a both. We need to have those flappy dogs, and we need to have pointers. We need to have a very energetic Malinois, and the German Shepherd dog. It's been our favorite for more than 100 years.
So would you agree that that's more about people's perception than actually about the characteristics or the attributes of a particular breed? Or are there some breeds that are better at some things?
Well, as been said, we'll be using dogs in many different purposes, and we need to have a right breed for the right purpose. So whenever, if I want to engage with the public in the public places, I might have a floppy dog here detecting maybe explosives or drugs. If I'm going to do the high-risk arrest, I have a very energetic German Shepherd dog or Malinois, which is capable to do the work.
Now, you're here at the summit, the World Police Summit. Your session was really well attended, certainly today, as far as I can see, out of many of the other sessions here. Have there been people coming up to you, delegates or senior officers from other countries, and coming up to your stand and saying, you know what, we want to make more use of police dogs? Is that the message you've been getting, or is it about spreading best practice? Pekka first.
Well, I'm here, of course, I'm here to tell about our line of duties, what we do with the canines, but I'm also collecting the best practices. And this is a very good place for that. When I'm teaming up with the different people, building my network, I can get more info, more knowledge about the best practices, because that's what we are missing. Many countries, many organizations, private companies, etc., they are doing great work. They are developing, they have some new innovations, but we don't have any universal platform or database where all these things can be put in. So we just have to reach out to people and ask, hey, what are you doing? And have you think about this? And what do you think about this? So this is how we learn here.
Jay, what are the lessons that you would take away from this summit?
Well, absolutely. The information sharing is first and foremost, and that free exchange of information really hasn't been done in the canine world. Organizations tend to keep to themselves. They develop their own programs, and then there's really never been a platform to share that. Here in the UAE, with the Dubai police, they're very excited to cultivate new relationships and build on all canine professionals across the world. So it's exciting.
Jay Malley, Pekka Kokonnen, hope I got the name right. Thank you both very much for joining us here on Policing TV and talking about police dogs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.